Okay, so we've got a 2011 Freightliner Cascadia EPA 10, okay, which means it's using the DEF liquid as opposed to the EPA 07, which doesn't use the DEF liquid. We're showing 4 fault codes. If we look over down here, you can see the little arrow. Not all Cascadias are the same. Some have a little different application, but the premise is still the same. So you're going to scroll through, fog light, no big deal. Now EEC, this is your fault code, DEF air pressure. Okay, now we're going to simply find out what that means, and by doing that, you're going to need to go with your Triple DL software and pull up the code. Now it's the only way to find out. You can go through, you can Google this particular code, but it might be pretty generic. There's some pretty good forums out there that will give you an idea of what's going on. But best way, always connect using your software. You will have a mill light or a malfunction indicating light, which is usually indicative of the after treatment. Okay, so once the software pulls up, we'll show you what's going on, what fault codes are registering, and we will go from there. Now that we've launched our software, Triple DL software, you're going to see here that we should be connecting to our CPC, MCM, and ACM. Okay, and what you're going to want to do is go up to fault codes. The glare's a little hard to see this, but you can see with the fault codes that we're automatically going to have some codes that are going to be popping up. And right now it says DEF air pressure not detected from vehicle supply side. Okay, now some of the troubleshooting steps that you're going to need to do, one of the first things it's going to tell you is, do you have enough air, at least 100 psi, which we do. Okay, so something's going to tell us that, hey, we've got plenty of air, but something's not getting over to the DEF metering unit. And that's usually the pressure limiting valve, but we're going to simply replace that, being that this is original. Okay, this truck has, let's take a look how many miles we have on it, 631,000 miles. Okay, so the nice thing about this particular code is when you go to the troubleshooting steps. Now, troubleshooting is not going to really solve your problem, but it's going to give you a great idea. Oh crap, let's go back here. Troubleshoot. Okay, so you go through the troubleshooting steps. It's going to tell you to measure air, measure everything. Okay, now first thing you want to look for, of course, is always going to be your pressures. Air pressure, pressure supply, air leaks, those are things you're going to need to go through. Now we're going to go through that in a second, but again, I just want to give you a quick overview on this particular fault code. Okay, see, there's your pressure limiting valve, and I'll show you the one that we just purchased, a brand new one, and it'll definitely, it's a good place to start rather than just start replacing everything. This is the best place to start, and I'll show you that right now in a second. Okay, now when you go and replace your pressure limiting valve, okay, this is what you're going to be purchasing. Okay, they call it an emissions valve or pressure limiting valve. That's really what it's referred to on the Detroit side. We're replacing that valve. We have new fittings. We have airline hose, approximately 1/4 inch. Now you don't need that much hose, but that's just essentially what we have, so we can replace whatever hose that we feel is brittle, leaking, and needs to be replaced. Okay, now this is your pressure limiting valve, again, or emissions valve. Now this is what you're going to replace. Okay, you got to remove it. We're going to go look under the truck in a second to see where it's mounted. They're all pretty much mounted in the same place. Okay, there might be some variances within the application depending if it's a day cab, a sleeper, whatever it is. Again, this is your pressure limiting valve, air inlet, air outlet, your electrical connection, your mounting ports. Okay, again, we're going to be using new fittings, new fittings. Okay, now a quick test you can do to make sure you're not getting the right air is you can do a DEF quantity test. Okay, now when you do that using your software, you're going to see your numbers. Your DEF air pressure is at 14.5. Your DEF pressure is at 23.9. Okay, and that tells us we're not getting air. So again, easiest place to start is your your pressure limiting valve. Now the reason you want to do that, because that's exactly what sends air to your metering unit. So now that we're underneath the truck, as you can see, there is our transmission, our drive line, And here is our pressure limiting valve. Now this is the back side of it, just to give you a general idea of where this is located. Okay, now we're gonna swing around here and hopefully get you a better picture of your pressure limiting valve. Okay, as you can see where it's mounted. Not that hard to get to, but that's our valve and that's what we're gonna be replacing, okay? Again, check for air leaks, replace your fittings if you need to replace them, airlines if you've got to replace them, okay? And again, pressure limiting valve, start there. That's usually the best place to go when it comes to your DEF air pressure issues or problems, okay? Now, if it goes any further, this is your DEF metering unit located on this back side of your one box. Okay, we're not going to get there yet. What we're going to do is first start with our pressure limiting valve and go from there. So let's get it removed. We'll do our tests and we'll confirm whether that fixed the problem or not. Okay, so there's our pressure limiting valve. These are your air lines. Recommend remove the air from the system before you pull the lines. Makes it a lot easier. Okay, you're going to have your lines, your little electrical connection to your solenoid. And there you go, just a quick little overview of what we're going to remove and install. Okay, now even after you change out your pressure limiting valve, you still have to run your software and prove to the ACM and the MCM and to the truck essentially that everything has been fixed and repaired. Just by replacing it doesn't mean you're done. Okay, so it's going to take a little extra time. As you can tell, we have no air, so we need to start the truck up, build the correct amount of air, and launch our software, and we're going to prove that everything works. If not, we go on to the next step, but this should pretty much resolve our issue. And again, you can see DEF air pressure. I've got no air pressure in my tanks. Let's start the truck. Actually, in my previous statement here, I was incorrect. My DEF pressure was low and my DEF air pressure was low. Okay, now that we replaced the pressure limiting valve, after you do a quick quantity test, a DEF quantity test, you can see that our numbers have now jumped. Our DEF pressure has increased. Our DEF air pressure, okay, has also increased, but the numbers are where they should be. So this is a good sign. So now we're going to start the truck, possibly do a quick little regen just to kind of confirm that everything is working right, clear the code, and the customer should be ready to go.